Okay, and then that brings us to our Imbucare boxes. So all of these are called Imbucare. Imbucare.
What kind of word is that like?
It's an Italian word. It's actually the word that they use for mailbox.
Oh, cool.
So it means like an object fitting inside of a container meant for that object. Is literally like the translation for that.
I love that.
That's literally what it means.
That's
what these are.
So yeah, these are containers that have objects that fit specifically meant to fit inside of them.
Yeah.
Which is hard to say as an activity name, so Imbucare makes much more sense.
Imbucare.
Yes, which Montessori started in Italy. Our Italian tradition. So it just makes sense to use an Italian word, right?
Right.
So an Imbucare box, this is the box with the tray. And this helps work on object permanence, but it doesn't necessarily require that a child have object permanence to be able to use the material. The primary purpose of this activity is actually not object permanence, but being able to place the object in the hole. So it becomes a motor skill as well. And so part of it is sensory awareness of recognizing that this hole can fit this ball or this sphere. And so you will have infants like take forever to just be able to get the ball in the hole. And this is a great also independent activity. So it's not super teacher directed. Really the only direction that a teacher is going to be giving is giving a couple demonstrations of how to put the ball in the hole. So you can explore the ball. You can even have the infant explore the ball for a little bit. And then you want to explore the hole and have the infant feel the hole. Like, can you feel that? Can you touch that? And then show them how that fits. But the nice thing about the Imbucare box with tray is that the ball automatically rolls out. So it's only out of their sight for like a split second, and then it comes right back in. So they can see like it disappeared for a second, but it's still there. And then this also encourages repetition. As the ball comes out, you pick it up, you put it back in. The ball comes out, you can pick it up, you can put it back in. So you demonstrate that repetition, and then the excitement that a child has when they get the ball in for the first time is just incredible.
Yeah,
and then they want to keep repeating it.
Yeah.
So that's it. This is super fun, like baby favorite.
Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
Yeah, I like that one.
So the next step is a little bit more difficult. So this is the Imbucare box with the drawer. And this does require object permanence because if you drop the ball in the hole, then it's gone, like you don't see it. But there is a way to use this to where, well, I'm not sure. To test. I didn't test this one to see if it works this way. So there's this extra step of having to close the drawer.
I don't.
So I'm
I
just
think
going
it
to test.
might. I don't know.
Sometimes it might.
I don't know.
So if they keep the drawer open, which a lot of babies and toddlers will keep the drawer open, and they drop the ball in,
yeah,
it
that's
gets stuck
what I
on the
thought.
ledge.
It gets stuck
And so they're like, oh, it disappeared. But the only way to get the ball back is to shut the drawer.
Yeah.
And then you open it again, and there it is. So it's kind of like a magic trick. It
Yeah.
disappeared. But I love this because it encourages them to have to shut the drawer, because there are some that we'll introduce here in a minute where it doesn't work unless you shut the drawer first, and then otherwise it just gets stuck.
Yeah.
So when you introduce it, you want to make a really big point of interest to shut the drawer. So you'll get the ball out, explore the ball, and then close the drawer. And this is one where I am okay with you adding vocabulary, even though it's not necessary. That could be a point of interest, like close the drawer. And of course, they've done the other one, so this should be a pretty easy transition for them to then place the ball in the hole. And then you hear it click, too. So that helps with the object permanence that I heard it.
Yeah.
The ball's in
There it is.
there. I can't reach. So this one also encourages repetition. And then, of course, if they don't close the drawer, like, You didn't close the drawer.
Yeah.
And then close the drawer, and there it is. So that one's super fun too. And then there's a whole array of Imbucare boxes.
I've
I'll
never
give you a
seen the
couple.
one with the triangle. That's new.
So the problem
Ours
is
has
the
a
pieces
square.
have gone missing.
Okay, because yeah, we have
You
a
guys
square
don't
and a
have
circle.
one.
No,
I
we
will
don't.
look to see if I can find a triangle. I'm sure that.
I've never.
Oh,
I haven't
that
even
one.
seen that in the toddler room. I've never seen a triangle one.
Oh, well, I think it's because the triangle is missing a lot for some reason.
Probably.
Because like the other objects go missing a lot, but we can find replacements for them.
Yeah, but then
So like this one is just a random object. So most of these ones actually have doors on them. I think this one also, the door broke off. But they work okay without the door.
I was gonna ask if like that was meant to happen, but that makes sense.
Yeah. So you can still use them without the door.
Yeah.
That's totally
We have
fine.
some without the door and some without the door.
Yes. And even the ones that have the doors, it's supposed to help with the object permanence because then they can actually look in and see, but then they can also open and close a door. So it's working on a few different skills, but if they don't want to open and close the door, their hands are small enough they can reach in there and grab without having to open
They
it.
normally try that.
So these ones are typically cylinders, or you can use spheres or balls to go in them. They progressively get more challenging though, and so a ball is going to be much easier to place in the hole because it doesn't matter which direction you put it. This is not really a cylinder either. It's an interesting shape. Not quite an ovoid, but kind of there. But this one you also couldn't just put it in any direction. You have to have it in a specific direction. So that makes it more complicated.
Yeah.
And then the next step would be a square. Actually, let me use this as a demonstration. Oh, look, we have a triangle.
Oh wow.
That's what this one is. So a square is the next. That one doesn't even go in this one. This came from a different box. Weird. So it goes ball and then cylinder, because a cylinder you can. I don't have a cylinder. I guess this one is. So it can't go in any direction, but once you have it the right way, then it can be turned any direction. So it doesn't have to be like a specific way. And then square would be the next, because this isn't a great example because it doesn't fit either way. But it has to be turned a specific direction, but then it can go a multiple. There's several different ways it could be turned. And then rectangle would be next because, again, there are a couple of different ways that it could be turned. Like one of the ways it's not going to fit. So you see why that's a little more difficult.
Yeah.
And then triangle would be the most difficult because it has to be like a very specific direction to be able to fit in. Or it can't fit this way. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So they progressively get more difficult, but it's all working on the same type of skill. We're not identifying them as specific shapes yet, but we're laying that foundation for recognizing how to do puzzles as well, because you have to fit certain pieces into specific insets. So these drawers are next. This one is obviously more difficult. It's multiple shapes. So it's a shape sorter that you have to find, and then it's a flip lid as well. So this one also encourages repetition because you put the objects in, and then if they have object permanence, which if they're doing this level, they should have object permanence. Then they flip it over, and then they can repeat by putting them back on the other side, and then flip it over and repeat. So a lot of these activities encourage repetition, which is great. I'm going to set this aside because that does not go in that box. And then we have the more difficult boxes, which are with a drawer. And these ones are more difficult because of the drawer itself. You have to close it in order to be able to use it again. So you place the ball in, you open it up, you take it out, and you have to close the drawer. So what happens if you put the ball in after the drawer is open?
Stuck.
Yeah, you'll actually have to take the whole drawer out to be able to get the ball out. So that does end up happening a lot, which is why in the infant room you guys typically just use this one without the.
We have one with the drawer and one without the drawer.
Oh, okay.
But it's really depending on like what they're ready for.
Yeah, it's nice to have both as an option.
Yeah.
But the knit ball is kind of fun because it doesn't just fall in, and some of them are tighter than others, but you kind of have to push it. This one you don't. Some of them you actually have to like push it through the hole.
Can they understand like with like object permanence? Probably it's different for each kid, but like if they put it in too early the drawer, like would the toddlers understand? Oh, it's because it's open. You know what I'm?
No, yeah, they probably won't. So
Yeah.
sometimes they get frustrated, which is why they'll do it without the drawer for kids who don't get that. But you'll have a kid who's like, "Where did it go?" And I can't get it out. So you have to show them like, "Oh, there it is. It's behind the drawer." And then you have to give the lesson again. You have to close the drawer. Open. Out. Close. So when they're not getting it, I do encourage to add language just as kind of that verbal cue.
One of the things I noticed with this one, that some of the older kids, some of the older infants will get it, but then they'll get it like all the way until then close the drawer. Like you take it out and then they'll go right to do it, and I'm like, wait, we have to close the drawer.
Yes.
Yeah, and then like they'll still try to do it like that again, like because they get like really excited and they like probably don't understand. But we try to teach them the drawer, but sometimes they just like still don't get it.
Yep, it makes it hard.
Yeah, sometimes they're just like ready to keep going.
Yeah,
they're like, no.
I don't want to. So this also helps with following multi-step directions.
Yeah.
Because there's obviously several steps to this activity, and through repetition, they'll eventually be able to get it. Or if they're older, they'll just understand the concept. But they kind of go hand in hand. You have to be able to follow multi-steps as well as understand that the reasons why you have to do it that way.
Yeah.
Because it won't work otherwise. That one's super fun. And then we have the coin box.
I like the coin box. We don't have that, but you guys do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Emerson loves this. It's so cute.
So this is the same concept. You have to take all the coins out. Close. And then I love this because it makes the fun like clink.
Like money. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, actually before I found this box, like before I knew that they actually made Imbucare boxes, we did these types of activities, but we just had to like make them out of stuff, like putting objects in containers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we used a piggy bank.
A piggy bank, yeah, that's
like a lot, like a big.
That's what it
piggy
reminds
bank.
me of, is a piggy bank.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. But this is way easier because then they can open this instead of having to like take the bottom of the piggy
Yeah.
bank. So those are great. Now, if you're having a child struggling with the drawers, then you can isolate that concept by introducing the box with drawers. And this also helps work on object permanence as well as the opening and closing concepts. But I like these box of drawers because, and this shows you like the progression of all of them. There's actually a knit ball with a flip lid as well.
Ooh. Ooh.
Yeah, that one would actually be really good for you guys.
That would, I've never seen that.
No, I don't remember the last time we had it.
Yeah. No, I like
Just
that.
add it to our wish list somewhere along the way. Oh, right here. Oh.
I get like you love it.
All right, so box with bins. And I apologize if you look at the manual. There's actually not a write-up in there for you. It's just one page.
Okay.
But the box with bins helps work on object permanence. You can do lots of different extensions with this box, and hopefully by the end of the class I'll actually have a write-up for it. I just haven't gotten there yet. Turn this way. But I love this because the bins don't actually come all the way out. You can open them up and see the objects inside. And you can So you can use this in several different ways. I have this set up for a color matching activity, but if your child's not there, that's totally cool. If you're using it just for object permanence or concentration and memory, then you can just use one object and you can like open all the bins and then place it in one of them and then close the bin. And where did the cube go?
Yeah, I like that one.
And then they have to figure out. Oh, so you guys kind of play the hide and seek.
Yeah, and then it's funny when like you put it in like one and they go straight to that one a couple of times and then realize it's not in there, it's in a different one.
Yeah.
And so then they'll start going to the other one it's in, but then they'll be like, no, wait, it
not
can
in
be
that
in
one
any of
anymore.
them. Yeah, it's like so funny.
Yes.
And they get excited.
Yeah.
And
I think
then,
it's like
yeah, I love that. This is the primary colors because then you can also do it as color matching. So
Yeah.
either one of those is really fun. And then this also helps work on open and close. So you can add the bow cap to that too. If they're struggling with this one, then you can introduce this one where you're just focusing on opening and closing. And then I have a similar exercise for older group of kids, and this is like the box with bins, except these drawers do come all the way out. So when you open them up, they could pull them all the way out, but this is a good one to practice on just opening a little bit and then closing, so rather than pulling them all the way out. I also have this one set up as a color matching exercise with pom-poms. And I think this one was in your guys' classroom. Michaela said you didn't have any kids who were ready to work with it. So
Oh yeah, we
like not quite.
Not quite there.
Yeah,
yet.
But then you can use this as like a find hidden object
That's
too.
so funny. You're like, yeah, I
I
remember
know.
trying that one.
So I'll put one in there, and then where did it go? And then they can test each drawer and see if they can
Oh
find
man.